ACT class. I already uploaded part 1 and part 2. Again, I'm sorry about that. We had someone come Easter egg our front yard, which is awesome. But here we are, we're gonna do practice problems now, which is technically day 2 in your packet. And it should look something like this. ACT problems containing arithmetic. And what we would do at this today, on this one is what we would say is, we're going to practice on our timing, because a lot of you are in here not because you're not good at math, but because you want to improve your math ACT score. So here's the thing, you have 60 questions in 60 minutes, but the students who do the best are the ones who do 60 questions in 40 minutes, which sounds impossible. But if you actually take this seriously, even though I'm not there with you and not practicing with you in face-to-face, if you actually listen to what I'm trying to tell you, I think that you will see a huge improvement. My students have been improving by, as the average is 6 points, but some students have improved as much as 15 points on their score this year. So it's possible, you just have to be willing to work. So here's what I'm gonna do. So right here, as you can see, we've got 7 problems. So ideally what you would do is you would pause me right now. You would set you would set a 7-minute timer and you would pause me. And then after you do your 7 minutes, so you're gonna try and get this done in 7 minutes and just see what it looks like, okay? But eventually what we're gonna do is try to do this amount in 4 minutes, okay, by the end. But this very first time, try 7 minutes, feel what it feels like to do 1 question a minute. Here's the technique that we do. If we can do this problem, we do it right away. If we know we can do this problem, but it's gonna take me a minute, I would put a star next to it. So here's what we do. If it's easy, we're gonna do it. Just do it right then. If we can do it, but we want to do it later, we're going to put a star. So it's like like this one, like you know how to do it, but it might take you more than 30 seconds to just figure it out, okay? And then if we don't know how to do it, we're going to at least guess. And we're going to tell it that we have guessed by putting a circle. So like, let's say we didn't know this one. I would circle it and I'd be like, well, I mean, I see 4c squared and I know 3 times 2 is 6, so can't be either of these. My best guess is this one, right? And so you would just guess it. I don't think that's the right answer, but it's not. But that's how you would guess, okay? And so what we're trying to do is get faster. So choose your own potion here. You have 7 questions. You can either do 3 minutes or you can do 7 minutes, but I would pause and try it. Ready? Pause. Okay, so I'm assuming that you paused and you are joining us back again. So here we are. What I plan on doing is just showing you how to do this. So 7 minus 3, you would see that's 4 minus negative 4, but absolute values means that it's always the positive, and so that's why it's 0. You could also have done this in your calculator by hitting let me see here. No, math right enter, excuse me, not stat, math right enter. I'm thinking of my math decision making class. So you could put that in and you could do 7 minus 3 minus math right enter, and then 3 minus 7, and it would also tell you the answer is 0. Looking at the next one, so it says we got $45 per hour and there's a flat rate fee, so we got 45x plus 30 equals 210. And so for me to solve for x here, I have to do the opposite, right? So instead of plus 30, I'm going to subtract 30. So 45x equals 180. And then we would divide both sides by 45. And so x is 4. The beauty of this is if I'm going too fast, you guys can always pause and look and see what I did in reverse. You can try it. So this first one says that we have A is 14 miles per gallon, and we're going to go on this trip. So I don't know if you've ever been on a trip before, but I love going on trips. My family does a lot of trips, and sometimes we take 2 vehicles, and it's a pain because this one's going to get 72 gallons before it goes out of gas, but P can go only 28. It's really a bummer. But be careful, it says how many, because 72 and 28 are options, but it says how many more gallons do we need? So you'd have to subtract and then get 44. This next one is from Secondary Math 3. It's like the very first lesson we learn in Secondary Math 3. And what we say in my class is we double underline if it's a squared. And we're trying to put together t squared minus 82t squared, which is negative 81t squared. So right away we can see that the only answer could be J. But if you went through it, we would have negative 59t plus 60t is positive 1t, which is right there. And then you only have one more thing left, which is this plus 54. Okay, moving on to 6. I told you that was a guess, and it was. It's a bad guess, but here we are. 4z times z is 4z squared. 4z times negative 2 is negative 8z. 3 times z is 3z. And 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And so I've got 4z squared. I should have changed, sorry. 4z squared, negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5z minus 6. And so that's why it's J. And this one is really tough for students, which is why I put it on your cards. So I don't know where I put my cards at this minute. Let me see if I can find them real quick. I can't. Anyways, but I put cards in your packet, and it says something like this. Is over of is percent over 100. That's what the card says. So this says, I'm going to try and do this in color. It says 40% of a number is 8. So is will go on top of some number, we'll guess x, and 40%, 40 over 100. Lots of different ways you guys can do this. This is just the way I teach it. 40x equals 800. Divide by 40, and you get x is 20. And you're disappointed because that's not one of the answers. But it's not one of the answers because that's just the first half. Then it says, what is 15% of the given number? What is 15? What is, so we don't know what's on top now. That given number was 20 of the given number, and it says 15 over 100. Again, I would cross multiply. I would get 100y equals 300, and then I would divide by 100 on both sides, and y would equal 3, which is why it's C. Last question right here. It says that these are consecutive integers and they add up. So right here you can say I got 6 x's. And if I were to add these guys up, negative 2 and positive cancel out, negative 1 and positive 1 cancel out, plus 3 equals that 447. And then I would solve by subtracting 3, 444. And then I would divide by 6, and I would get x is 74. Okay, that's the first page. So, I don't know if that helps to get a big eye view or not, but there you go. We're going to go on to the next page now. It's got 8 questions. So once again, you know, this is your time. So you could either take 8 minutes and try it, or you could try 4 minutes and try it. I would suggest the 4 minutes. And we're going to pause. I don't know why I did that. That was dumb. Sorry. All right, hopefully you paused. If you didn't, pause right now and try them. All right, so looking right here, it says, what's the chances that we chose Whitney? Well, Whitney is 30 out of 200. So that would give me 0.15, which is 15%. I'm not gonna show you guys my calculator unless I need to, okay? You're gonna either have to trust me or choose your calculator yourself. This one says, all right, well, what about Lou? Well, Lou is 80 out of 200. And again, this time they want us to show what if there was 10,000. I personally would do it like this. Some of you would have done that 80 divided by 20 and found that percentage times that. Same thing, whatever you choose there, kiddos. So I've got 200x equals this 800,000. When I divide by 200, it's going to give me 4,000. The next one says Janelle's cutting a board that's 30 feet long into 2 pieces, but it needs to be a 2:3 ratio. So I need 2 pieces, 1, 2, and then I need 1, 2, 3. They're supposed to be equal. Use your imagination. Okay, but that means that if there's 1 and 2, then the 1, 2, 3, that means that's a total of 5. And so if I divide 5 by 30, that means that this is going to be 6 each, right? So I'm trying to say this whole thing is 30. So again, what I would personally say is 2 out of 5 is to how many out of 30? 2 out of 5 is how many out of 30? Now, I just said it was times 6, so you would know that that's 12, and that's 18, and of course that adds up to 30. Or you could cross multiply. 5x equals 60. Divide by 5 and x is 12 because we want the shorter piece. So notice that 12 and 18 are options. It says the shorter piece though. The last one right here on this side says, what's the square root of 58? So the square root of 58, is 7.6. So you could do it that way, or you could have said, well, I know 4 squared is 8, 49, 64, 100, 900, and seeing that 58 comes between these two, it says what's the smallest number greater than that one. So greater than, so it would have to be C, because it's got to be greater than. So 7 would be too small, so we'd have to round that up to 8. All right, number 21. Secondary math 3 covers factoring. So does secondary math 2, though. You would know that you would have to subtract. Oh, that's plus 2x minus 8. I'm so sorry, I almost showed that. We could combine those, but we can't because that has an x and this one doesn't. But I need it to equal 0, and you would factor at this point. 2 times 4 makes 8, and because I want that to be a positive 2, I'd say a positive 4, and a negative 2 would make a negative 8, and so if x minus 2, I'm going to have to go up here, x minus 2 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0, so that would be my answer, the 2 and negative 4, which makes it A. And an easier way though, oh my gosh, it's so out of focus, I'm so sorry. An easier way though would be to go into my calculator, go to y equals, and plug that in. X squared plus 2x minus 8, and hit graph. And you're going to see it crosses at negative 4 and positive 2. Ta-da! Way easier than factoring. All right, looking at 24, it says that this manufacturer is going to cost this much per day, and they do tell us 1 day, and so we don't have to multiply that times 1, but it says it's going to be $5.25 per basketball. So we know it's not this one because it's not that per basketball, right? It can't be F or H. It's got to be one of these, and so the question is, are you still losing money or did you gain money? Well, since I spent that much per day and I'm spending per basketball, that's why it's going to be K. It's a total loss. All of it is loss. There's no profit yet until we recover that $1,400 per day. You're not really going to make any money. Okay, moving on to the next one, 27, the hot air balloon. So let me just show you how I would see it. I've got this hot air balloon that's 70 feet off the ground. It's going down 6. So I've got 70 minus 6x. And then I've got another hot air balloon that's 10 meters and it's going up. So it's at 10 meters and it's going up 15x. Okay, so we would get our x's together by adding 6x. So I've got 70 equals 10 plus 21x. I would subtract 10. to get 60 equals 21x. And of course I would divide by 21. Ooh, it's getting tight. And so I believe that gives me like 2.857, and so that's why it's going to be 2.9. The last one is a great question. It's typically like not like this. Like when I read this, I was like, okay, so I'm starting at, I'm going by van and I've got 4 roads. And then I've got 2 bike paths, and then I've got 6 trails. 6 trails, and so that's like a picture that I would have drawn. But they could have also asked this the same question when they're like, hey, you're going to Subway and you got 4 different kinds of breads, 2 kinds of cheeses, and 6 kinds of meats. How many different sandwiches? They do things like this all the time. Basically, you just multiply it. 4 times 2 is 8, times 6 is 48. Wow, this is taking a long time. But this is, I guess, what it is, right? It usually takes a whole class period, and there's a lot of people asking questions. Okay, so this one is also 7 questions. I would like you to take time to pause. I feel like I should like put like a pause symbol. That's why I did my peace sign finger earlier. Oh my gosh, I'm such a dummy. Okay, anyways, here you are. 7 minutes, try it in, or 7 questions, 4 minutes, pause. All right. All right, looking at number 30, we have this equation. And I don't know if you remember, but in the previous problem, in the previous packet, we talked about like if it was 31.5%, that we could move it twice, and that's why it's 0.315 as a decimal. We need it for these questions, okay? So it says, I'm going to try and color code for you here, that it's $10,000 is deposited, and that's what they said is deposited. So A equals 10,000. And then it says 1 plus the rate. Well, the rate is 4%, so I have to put in 0.04. And then I have to raise it to the n, and n is the number of periods. In this case, it's 5 years. I hope you have already, but if you haven't, there's an app. It's called